How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now. If you're new to the channel, my name is Troy, and I really appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. Law professors say they have a way around the Second Amendment. Two law professors have an idea for how to circumvent the Supreme Court's repeated rulings in support of the Second Amendment. They want to use police officers to seize guns of what they call dangerous people. The 2022 Supreme Court ruling in the New York Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen case threw the political project of gun regulation into question. And I'm going to totally ruin this person's name, but I don't care because they're against the Second Amendment. Professors Gua Gershamurthy and Peter Salib wrote in the latest issue of Notre Dame Law Review, the scholars are not ready to give up. Instead, they want states to employ an unlikely source of continuing power. Qualified immunity shields state officers from monetary liability for many constitutional violations. In short, unless a previous case clearly established with high factual particularity that the officer's conduct was unconstitutional, the officer does not pay. It seems to me there's a lot of that going around already. Under their theory, law enforcement officers can confiscate a person's firearms if the officer deems the person too dangerous to possess it, even if the justifications conflict with Bruen and other Second Amendment jurisprudence, and the officer risks no liability. They focus their attention on domestic abusers, but we should be very wary of how federal law enforcement would abuse their idea. And like I said, they're already abusing this already. Our current Department of Justice is the same one that viewed a pro-life father as a threat, and parents who oppose sexualized content. At school board meetings, the result is a surprisingly free hand for the states to determine who should and should not be armed, even in contravention of the Supreme Court's dictates. The professors argue the proposal is also meant to make a point by getting conservatives to be concerned about qualified immunity. The logic the professors argue is once the police start seizing the guns and getting away with it by claiming immunity, then conservatives who support, in other words, the rigid Second Amendment will begin to work to limit qualified immunity use. Going forward, the doctrine will either provide cover for left-leaning states to disarm potentially dangerous citizens, even in tension with the Second Amendment principles, or it will be weakened, reinvigorating civil liability as a mechanism for policing the police. The possibility of qualified immunity as a gun control law thus poses a dilemma for the conservative voting public. They argue support qualified immunity and police at the expense of gun rights, or vice versa. The professors are sure that conservatives would turn against qualified immunity, or if they didn't, at least guns would be seized. But have they considered an alternative response? What if liberals, seeing that qualified immunity is helpful in taking away guns, begin to support it? Nor is qualified immunity a one-size-fits-all bag. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who wrote the Bruen decision, has also said there should be different standards for immunity with regard to a college administrator that violates a student's rights and a cop who makes a split-second decision. The proposal will probably elicit some positive reactions from other pro-gun control professors who think it's ironic and that their peers own the conservatives and won the argument gun rights should be protected by state and federal law. That can happen while a meaningful conversation, while the pros and cons of qualified immunity also occurs. And there's no one-size-fits-all answer about which government employees should have it and under what circumstances. That seems like such an easy concept that even a law professor could grasp it. If something like this was ever put into place, it would be totally abused by those officers. It's amazing that the Bruen decision was supposed to help us with our Second Amendment rights, but now all the liberals and anti-gunners are finding every way they can to circumvent that decision. As always, I would really like to hear your thoughts about the story in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, or if I gave you some information you didn't know, or if you would just like to help the channel out and help it grow, please take time to like, share, and subscribe and hit those post notifications. I really would appreciate it. And I invite everybody back to see my next video.